This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, friends. In this Azure Databricks Master Program, this is our 22nd session. In this session, we will see reading and writing the XML files. Okay, how you can read and write the XML files we are going to see. So in this particular session, we will see how to install Spark-xml library, because by default, you cannot read the XML files. So you need to install the third-party library. That is nothing but a Spark-xml you need to install from the Maven repository. I will tell you how you can install it. So even yesterday we have installed the Excel library, right? Today we are going to install the XML library. Then we will see options while reading XML file. So we have a different options. So if you know XML file, we will have a root tag, then row tag. So we are going to discuss in detail what is root tag and what is row tag, and we are going to talk about sampling ratio. Okay, sampling ratio is basically so instead of scanning entire data to identify the data type, you can tell, okay, so in an entire file I want to read 10% of the records to identify the data types. I want to use 20% of the records to identify the data type of each column. Okay, so that schema, if you want to identify, you can tell how many records Spark has to scan. Okay, if you go with inferSchema, what inferSchema is going to do, it will scan entire data. There is no restriction. Okay, it is by default, it is going to scan entire data. If you go with the sampling ratio, you are going to tell, I want to scan only 20% of the records to identify the schema. Okay, the default value for inferSchema here is true. Okay, you know, right? In CSV files, the inferSchema by default value is false, but in XML, the inferSchema, the default value is true. True means by default it will infer the schema. But we can tell, I don't want to use inferSchema. By default, I want to use a sampling ratio. So I can tell sampling ratios, I want to use only 0.2, meaning the sampling ratio will vary from 0 to 1. 0 to 1 means 0 means none of the records, 1 means total records. 0.1 means 10% of the records. 0.5 means 50% of the records you are going to scan to identify the data types. Next, we will discuss in detail again. So then we will read the XML. First thing is read XML file into the data frame. How you can read the XML file into the data frame. Then we will see read XML files with user specified schema. I'm going to define my own schema, and I will give it. I will attach to that particular file while I am reading, so that whatever schema I have defined with this schema, I can create the data frame. Next, we will have a next thing called nested XML files. We are going to see how to read the nested XML file into the data frame. Then same, read nested XML file with the user specified schema. So I want to read this nested XML file with the user specified schema. How you can do that, we will see. Then you see how to read multiple XML files into a data frame. I want to read multiple XML files into data frame. How you can do? So you just have to maintain a multiple XML files in a directory. So you can just specify the path up to directory to read multiple XML files. Okay, these are the things we will do with respect to reading. Now we will go and see the write XML. Write XML, we will see how to write a data frame as XML file with default tags. What are those tags? rootTag and the rowTag. Okay, these two are important. So I am not going to mention, okay, what is my rootTag, what is my rowTag. I will show you what is the default tags it is going to take. Remember, the default tag for rootTag is rows. The default tag for rowTag is row. Okay, next, I want to specify what is my rootTag, what is my rowTag, and I want to write the data as a XML file. So I will show you this particular thing as well. Okay, let's see first options which we have available. So first we need to identify this particular file. You see here the file, this is the XML file. In this XML file, you see here employees. Okay, this is the root tag. In this root tag, you can see detail. This is the another detail. So meaning, this is the first employee details, this is your second employee details, this is your first row in your table, this is second row in your table, meaning it's a row. This is one row, this is another row in the table, right? So that's why this particular tag is called a row tag. So this is also become a row tag only, because this is another row, this is another row. That's why this is a row tag. So on top of rowTag, you see something called a rootTag. This is called a rootTag. So per one XML file, you will have a one rootTag. How many rowTags you can have? As many records as you have, those many rowTags you will have. Here I have two, I have two records, so I can see two rowTags, details. But rowTag, two rowTags means it's not different. You are just going to mention same tag two times because two different two rows. Okay, clear, Senthil, Shushmita? Clear this one?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, because this is very important. Without knowing this particular file structure, you cannot able to understand. So as I said, you can see here rootTag is employees, fine. But what is the default? Default is rows. What is the default row here? The default rowTag is row. Okay, I will show you them as a practically. Next, we will see options while reading XML file, right? So rootTag of your XML file to treat as the root. So we know, right? So I have shown you the root. To specify that particular rootTag, we need to use this rootTag. The default rootTag is rows. Next, rowTag of your XML file to treat as a row. I want to treat my row. So to treat as a row, you need to specify what is your rowTag, and the default rowTag is row here. Next, sampling ratio. Sampling ratio for inferring schema is, you can see the value will change from 0.0 to 1. The default is 1. Default 1 means you are going to scan entire data. So instead of that, you are going to tell, I want to scan only 20% of the records. I want to scan 30% of the records. I want to scan only 10%. Now you see the info schema. The default value set to this option is true. Okay, true means it automatically infers column types based on the data. Note that it requires reading the data one more time to infer the schema. We need to infer this, we need to read the data one more time because we are setting the default value to true, meaning we are trying to identify the schema of the file. But when setting it to false, it will not infer schema. It is not going to scan the data. Okay, I hope everybody is clear on these options, right? Fine. Now reading XML file into DataFrame. I want to read XML file into DataFrame. How you can read? You can see when you are reading XML file into DataFrame, we need to specify the format. That format you can specify XML or com.databricks.spark.xml. So I will show you. See the syntax, you can use something like that. Spark.read.format. You can use here XML or you can use com.databricks.spark.xml. That is one thing. Next, so when you are mentioning a rootTag, as we know, rootTag employees you can mention, and a rowTag you can mention details. If you are not mentioning rootTag and rowTag, what are the default values it will take? RootTag is going to be rows and rowTag is going to be row. We know that. Okay, we discussed. Now I will read the data from this location and I can display. Next, I want to define user defined schema. How you can provide user defined schema? Schema of S. S is nothing but a user defined schema. I will assign to a variable called S. That S I will pass it here. So same rootTag, and from this location I want to read the file, but this file schema I'm specifying explicitly. Okay, clear? Next, remember this format is same while you are writing and reading. You can use XML or com.databricks.spark.xml. Now write data frame as XML. You see df.write mode is overwrite. Format is XML. I want to write this particular thing in a XML format. Option rootTag is employees. RowTag is details. And I want to write my output to this path. Okay, fine. See here df.write.mode overwrite. Okay, df.write.mode. Here I am not mentioning the rootTag and rowTag. Okay, I am not mentioning the rootTag and rowTag. What are the default values it will take? Rows, and the rootTag is going to be rows and rowTag is going to be row. Okay, then I can able to write data into this particular folder. So that is not the XML format. Okay, that is not the XML format. These are the slides I have, friends. So now let's go and do the lab. Okay, before I go and do the lab, any questions, friends?
I'm fine, Malaya.
Okay, fine. Let's create Azure Databricks workspace. Click on Azure Databricks. Let's click add to create the Azure Databricks. So resource group is, let me create a new resource group. This one I can say Cloud Pandit. Okay, this is my resource group. Workspace name I can give here, Cloud Pandit ADB workspace. Okay. So in which region I want to launch? I want to launch it in East US, select East US. So I want to go with the standard pricing tab. I don't have my own virtual network. I want to launch it in default. Select no. If you have any key value page, provide, otherwise leave it blank. Click review plus create. It is validating all the details. If validation passed, it will enable, click create. Now, meanwhile, this Databricks workspace created, I will show you the data sets which we have, XML data sets. Okay, let's go to Cloud Pandit data set. Go inside XML. You see your XML file one. I have a XML file one. You open it and see. These are the employee details. Here you can see details. So these are the first employee details. These are second employee details. These are third employee details. This is your fourth employee details. Okay. These are the four details I have. I have a one more file. This file is also having content same. So yeah, this is your rowTag. rowTag is details, right? So this is one employee details. This is another employee details. This is another employee details. This is another employee details. Now go back. You see, we are also going to discuss about nested XML one. Just click on this, edit with Notepad++. You see here. So where is nested? In this division, if you see, you have again nested. Okay, but if you come back and see, here division is only one tag, but in nested XML, you see in this division we have all again tags, sub tags. Here we have again tags. Okay, tags, again tags. So how to handle these particular things we are going to see. Okay, so you see nested XML file. This is also same. Okay, division. I have a two like sub tags I have here. Okay, clear. Now sampling ratio. To test with the sampling ratio, I have created here. Okay, so here you see what you need to focus here. Let's focus on this one, building number 301. Here it's a 303. Here you see 35. This is 36. So meaning these are a string values, these two are string values, these are a integer values. Now if you say inferSchema, a sampling ratio, when you mention a sampling ratio to maybe 10% of the record, it will tell you the data type for this building is integer or long. Okay, integer is not available here, so it will treat a double and long, both are available. Okay, so now it will treat it as a long, okay, building. When it is going to treat it as a long, when you try to read only few records, maybe 10% of the records, but if you try to read all the records, then building data type, building column data type will become the string. Okay, this particular thing also I will prove it. Let's go back and you see our Azure Databricks workspace is ready. Just click on go to resource. Okay, let's click launch workspace. Here our workspace is open. Now just click on clusters. Okay, let's create a cluster. How to create cluster? Just click create cluster. A cluster name is Cloud Pandit-demo, and here cluster mode we need to give. Cluster mode, it can be high concurrency, standard, or single node. So based on your requirement, high concurrency for the parallel execution, standard for serial execution, single node is nothing but for your practical purpose. Okay, for learning or something, you can go with this single mission. Just select single node. Here auto scaling option will be disabled. Pull for starting your cluster quickly. We know Databricks runtime version is nothing but so you can select the Databricks runtime latest version also you can select. It's nothing but a core component that you are installing on this server. and I want to terminate my cluster if I am not submitting any job for about 60 minutes. Okay, this is the inactive time interval. Then click create cluster. So once you create cluster, what you need to do, what we are trying to do today, we are trying to read the XML file. So by default, you cannot read the XML files. So for that, what you need to do is you need to install the third-party library, that is Maven repository. From Maven repository, you need to install the Spark-xml library. For that, come here. Let's click on install new. Click on Maven. So yesterday we have done, okay, same way. Just click search packages here. So in Spark packages, if you search, you may or may not get, but you are not going to get the correct one. It's still loading. Okay, but we know Spark package, whatever you see here, those will not support. Let's go to Maven Central and let's search it. See, when I go to Maven Central, you can see quickly it is available. Now we know Spark-xml and 2.12. We know this, right? And in latest release, I need to select here. You can see the release. This is the artifact ID, and this in this artifact ID, you can see 2.12. It indicates the Scala version. So if the Scala is 2.12 in your cluster, you need to select here also 2.12. If you select with 2.11, it will not work. Okay, these things you need to take in care. Now just to select it. Okay, then click install. Okay, along with the cluster, your package also will be available. Okay, let's click on this workspace. Meanwhile, create folder here. Okay, folder name I will create it as a Cloud Pandit. Okay, create folder. So in this folder, I will create the notebook. Okay, create. I want to create a notebook. So what notebook you want to create? Read underscore write XML. I want to show you how to read and write the XML files. Okay, so in which language we are trying? In Python. Just create it. Once you create this notebook, you can attach this notebook to your cluster. Select this cluster. So cluster is still creating. So I need to verify what is the content I have in my base folder. We know in base folder we will not have any content, but let's go and check it. Add data, DBFS, file store, tables. So in tables you don't have any content. This is your like base path. Okay, just copy this and click on recents. In recent you can see this is the notebook. Okay, so you can list down the content even from the notebook as well. How you can list down the content from any directory from notebook? You need to use the dbutils command. dbutils.fs.ls. Okay, now I need to enter here this. Let's execute this and check what content we have here. Okay, waiting to run. We know that we don't have any content in it, but I want to create some folders. mkdirs you need to use if you want to create any folders in this base folder. Okay, so waiting to run and running command. It said there is no content, empty list it returned. Okay, now you see here, and in this I want to create a multiple directories. mkdirs if you need to use if you want to create any subdirectories. So here you can say xml1. Okay, and XML2. XML1 I will use to upload a single file, and XML2 I will use to upload the multiple files. In the same way, I will use nested XML1. Nested XML1 I will use to like to read this single XML file. Nested XML2 I will use to upload the multiple nested XML files. Next, this is nested XML output to write my nested XML output. Okay, here also I need to take the one more thing called XML output. Okay, this is basically to write the XML output here. Next, one more folder I need to maintain the sampling file. Okay, we have a sampling ratio. To test sampling ratio, I have prepared one more data set. So that particular file I will upload into sampling ratio folder. Let's execute all these things. Now you see total 7 directories I have created. Let's list down and see whether we are able to get all these things. So now you are getting all these things in a list format, but you want to see it in a tabular format. What you can do is you can use the magic commands. Fs. Okay, I want to list down the content from this directory. What directory? File store / tables, and it will give you the details in a tabular form. See, tabular format, you will get it. Here you can see all the like folders which you have created. Okay, this is what %fs is nothing but a magic command. If you want to write, like if you are working with file system, you just have to put %fs. If you are working with Scala code, %Scala. If you want to work with plain SQL, %SQL. If you want to work with R, %R. Okay, clear? Because by default, all these cells are Python cells, because we have created a Python notebook. Notebook is nothing but a series of cells. What cells those are? All those are Python cells. Now the default behavior, if you want to change, you need to use the magic command. I have used magic command, and you can able to see all this. Now I will upload the respective files into the respective folder. How you can upload? Just click add data, add data, select the folder in which folder you want to upload what data. Let's go with XML1 first. Save it. So browse this data, and desktop, you can see here Cloud Pandit data set. Go to set type in XML. Let's go with one file I will upload here. DBFS, go upload. Let's select the another folder here, that is XML2. And I want to upload the multiple files, that is XML1 and 2. I will upload here. Okay, done. Now go back, select now nested XML1. In this I will upload the single nested XML1. Okay, DBFS, go back, select the nested XML2, and let's upload 2 XML files. Okay, DBFS, go back, let's select the sampling ratio folder now, and into this folder I want to upload my sampling ratio file. This is the one. I have shown you the data as well. Now we have the respective files in respective folders. Okay, now just go to DBFS. Let's verify all the folders before you go and do the labs. Okay, XML file should have 1 file. This should have 2. This should have 1. Here 1 file. Here 2 files. Okay, fine. Everything is fine. Let's go here. Go to recents. Click on this notebook, and I want to read the first file. How to read the first file? So this is the path to read a single file. Even you are reading single file, you can specify the file path, file name. Without specifying the file name also, you can able to read the single file. Okay, how you can do that is, you can see spark.read. Before I read it as a XML, I need to read this particular file as a text file. You can say text. Okay, from this particular folder I'm reading the text file, and here I can say df dot show 200 rows I want to read without truncating any data. Truncate equal to false. Now you see what data you have, exact data it will show without changing. See, our root tag here is employee, so row tag is details. These two I will use to read this particular file. Okay, spark dot read dot format is, you can use what XML you can use, or com.databricks dot, that particular syntax also you can use. I will show you that. Now I want to load the file. From which location you want to load? This is the location. Okay, but if you look at the tags, I'm not using any tags. What will happen now? Okay, XML and XML okay, XML dot show. Now you see you will not get any data. What is the reason, friends? The reason is root tag by default it will take rows, and the row tag by default it will consider row. But with that names there is no content here. That's why it is not reading any data. Now what you need to do? You need to specify your options. There are 2 options which are mandatory. Those things I will give here. The first tag is root tag. Root tag is what here? Employees. Employees. You can see the root tag here is, you can see here employees. Next row tag is details. So I will provide the details here. Row tag is details. Okay, let's read it now. You'll be able to see all the 4 records. I'm able to read the 4 records. But not only XML, you can use the another like another format. You can put something like this: com.databricks. This particular name you can give, or you can simply say XML. Okay, Spark.xml. Execute it. Now you see you are able to read. Both are same because it's a native, like same thing, right? Databricks package. That's why what it is saying is you don't need to mention this com.databricks.spark.xml. Okay, even though this library is available in Maven, but who is provided this particular library? Provided by Databricks. That's why this particular Databricks name you don't need to mention com.databricks. It's not mandatory. If you want to mention, you can mention. So this is how you are going to read a single file. But you know, we have a multiple files. Where we have multiple files? In XML2. Let's read it. See, multiple files. So these are the 4 records. Next file is having next 4 records. A total 8 records I'm able to get. Next, same way, I will try to read. Now. Only thing I will do is here nexted XML, right? Nexted XML1. So in this file we have a nexted files. You see here, computer science, it's a nexted values. How do you know these nexted things? So just what you can do, instead of specifying the data, or let it be data, open new cell. Let's print the schema. Print the schema. See here, division is start. In this we have a 2 more columns, course 1 and course 2. Those are string. This is string. This is the another column. This is another column. Course 1 is computer. Course 2 is science. Okay. So this is the nexted single file we read. Now I want to read a multiple files, multiple nexted XML files I want to read. Where we have multiple nexted XML file in nexted XML2 folder. Let's read this. See, total 8 records came. Now we have seen how to read a single XML file, normal XML file, how to read multiple XML files, how to read single nexted XML file, how to read multiple nexted XML files. Now I want to read a normal XML file with user defined schema, because let's go up here. Here you see XML2 where we are reading multiple files. Okay. Now let's expand this to see the data types. You see the data type is long, the long string. So how it is inferring the schema? Because I'm not saying inferSchema equal to true, because the default value is inferSchema equal to true. Okay, but what you can do here, option inferSchema, I will set it to false. Explicitly I will change the value to false. Now the data type is going to be by default, everything is going to be string. Okay, same option you can apply even in your nexted XML files. I hope you are not confusing. Nexted XML file, here also you can use the same option. And now you execute it and see. Okay, see, by default string. Okay, so this is the default. But now if I make it as true, or if I'm not mentioning the inferSchema true, okay, if I'm not mentioning this particular option itself, it was telling the building is long and your room column also long. Okay, let's wait for some time. You see, sending to cluster. Now you see it's a long. Okay, this is also long. The reason is you are saying inferSchema equal to true, but even if you're not mentioning, you are getting this result, but because the default value set to this inferSchema is true. If you make it as a false, the default it is not going to infer the schema, and by default we got here string, and here also we got string. Okay, clear? Now that sampling ratio I will show you. Yeah, that user defined schema that I'm going to show you. Okay, now let's say by default, if I'm not mentioning this particular info schema equal to true, then now you see long string 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 long string. Okay, now instead of info schema equal to true, I will use schema of s. Okay, what is schema of s? This s is nothing but I'm going to assign schema to that variable s. Okay, s equal to I need to say here struct type. Okay, what is my schema? Schema is here, you can see I'm going to mention one by one. So you need to say here struct field. Okay, you need to mention your first column name. What is your first column name? Your first column name is, one second. So in this structure type, you need to pass list of items. So each column is a one item in your list. So in this list, you need to say structure field. In this structure field, what is your first column name? First column name is building. Okay, I want to take it as a string type. I want to consider it as a string type, and it is going to allow the null values true. Okay, this is my first column. Let's put comma and specify your second column. This is my second column. Next, your third column, your fourth column name. Like that, you can mention everything. So what is my second column name? It's a division. So you just to take a division and mention here it's a division. What is my third column? It's a first name. What is my next column? Last name. Okay, room I want to keep it as a long type. Then what you need to do, instead of structure field, you can say here type, you can change it to long type. What is the column name? Column name is going to be room. Okay, so I need to specify my next final one, structure field. Structure field, it's a title. And what is the data type? String type. Okay, true is nothing but a, you are saying this particular column will allow the null values. Okay, so this is how we need to define the schema. Once we define the schema, all these types we need to import from Pyspark type. Pyspark.sql.types import. What all we have used? Structure type we have used. Okay, and then struct field we have used. Next, string type we have used. Long type we have used. Okay, you can see structure type, structure field, string type, and long type. Only these four we have used. So with this, I have created a schema. I know these are columns and these are respective data types, and it will allow this column will allow null values. All the columns will allow null values. That's why I have given true. And this is my schema assigned to variable. That variable I'm passing here. Let's try to read this data. So what it is saying, structure field. Structure field name error, it's capital S. Okay, so what you can do is simply mark it as capital S and export. See now, this is string 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 string, it's a long. Okay, now what you need to do, this is the like user defined schema. Let's say now I will mark this one also long type, then it will come long type. Okay, this is also coming as a long type, and then this one I want to mark it as a string type. It's getting. Okay, we're getting. Now we know if I mark this one as integer type, what will happen? Or long type. So we will get a null values. We will get null values because it's not a convertible. Okay, so that's why you need to take care of the data type. Okay, now I have provided the correct data types. Here you see this is I have given string. That's why string it is coming. But I know it's actually not a string. It's a long type. But just to show you, user defined schema is working. I'm just giving string type there. Okay, clear? Can you all respond quickly, friends? Everybody's clear on this?
Yes, Malaya. I have one question, Malaya. Here, we have a nested structure. We have, right?
Which one?
Nested one.
Next.
Yeah, nested. Yeah, nest. Yeah, one another.
I'm going to discuss. Don't worry. So
Okay,
first
okay,
you focus on this. This is
okay.
clear.
Yeah, this is clear. Yeah,
Okay. Let me move on to the now for nested XML files. How you will define the user defined schema that I will explain. Okay. Let's
No,
take
no,
same
no.
thing.
Actually, my question is, so we have a same field, we have multiple data, right? For example, computer science division, computer science, and I have another one more data, right?
Senthil, I understood your question. What you are asking is you are talking about this.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes.
Yes, these are two columns. So I have shown you here print schema. These are two different columns. So how to provide these two different columns data type? Okay, like how you can define user defined schema for these kind of schemas. I will explain that. So I understood your question. Are you focusing on this or you are asking
No,
some other?
I'm focusing on that one only. Okay, no worries, no worries. Yeah. So
That's
I
what
will
I
ask that
said.
question. Yeah.
Okay, now let's come down. Okay, our next topic is that only. Here you see, like info schema is true, it is giving, and even if you're not using this, by default value is true, so it will infer. But instead of that, I want to provide user defined schema. So only the difference is, you know that, not here. Let's print here. Okay. I just brought the schema from there. Only the difference, if you see, all other columns are same except division. Division, the data type it is showing here as string type. But in this string type, again you have a sub column. So what you need to do, instead of string type, you need to mark it as a structure type again. Okay, this structure type will have a again multiple columns. Again open a list. See how you have done here structure type, and you have provided all the column list. In the same way, in this particular division column, you have a multiple column. So again, open a structure type and open list. In this, you just provide your structure fields. How many columns we have? Structure field. Okay, I have two columns, so I will open a structure field twice. And what is my first column in this? I know it's a course one. Okay, what is the data type for this? It's a string type. So I can use this string type. So will it allow null value or not? True. Next, in this also, what is my second column? Second column is course 2, and the data type is string. This one also string type. And what is the data type? Like next one is, will it allow null values or not? Yes, it will allow the null values. Okay, that's all you need to do, and you execute it now. It has given same result. Okay, it has given same result. Now this long type, I will mark it as a string. Okay, I will change this long type to string, and this long type also I will change it to the string type. Okay, so let's do that. One second. One second, I think. Okay, now Let me just modify this one to string type. Okay, this one also I will modify to string type, and remaining things will not support other data type. That's why I'm just modifying these two columns data types, and I'm going to show you whether it is working or not.
Malaya, while it's running, can I ask you a question?
Tell me.
Yeah, how do you handle the exceptions when you have an exceptions in the data?
See, exception first, we are not in exception handling phase.
Okay.
So we are just reading and writing the files. Then I told you we are going to learn how to mount to the different storages. Then we are going to come to the, we will learn the Python. Then we will learn the exceptions, everything.
Sure. Sorry for that. Yeah.
Now you see it's a string type. This building is string type, because now if I include everything one day I cannot complete. So I need to go like one by one. Okay. So building is string and room also string type. You can see here building is string type and room also string type. Okay,
Malaya,
clear?
can I ask a question?
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, see, building division, we have a computer and science, right?
Hmm,
It's in
hmm,
same row, correct?
hmm, hmm.
So what I'm expecting is the 301 building 301 should have a two rows. One is computer science, computer, another for another one row for science. Is it possible? Because
You
division
cannot
is in same row. Yeah.
maintain something like that. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to understand, these are the, just if you want to identify what is the column names for these two values, you just have to use the print statement, print schema. You can able to see the course one and the course two.
So we can't bring into next row, right? Computer is in one row, science is in another row, but
No,
other things are in kind of duplicates.
no, you cannot maintain like that.
Mm-hmm. Suppose if we are going to load into the database, okay, or table, it
Hmm.
would be like I need, these things two separate rows. For example, building 301, division should be computer, first name Rama, Krishna, room and title. The next row would be 301, division should be science.
Can you come again?
No. If you see 301, we have a two data for division, yeah, in same
Hmm.
row. But my
Hmm.
question is,
Hmm.
instead of same row, I need
Hmm.
another one more row for 301.
Hmm.
On division, it should be science. So division 301, division computer, first name Rama, last name Krishna, room 11, title engineer. And the next row,
Hmm.
301, division should
Yeah.
be science. First name, last name, room, and title or everything would be same.
Okay. See, in real time, if you have something like this,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you are expecting, they won't maintain two different records. So
Okay.
they will simply maintain. So division. In this division, we have a list. So this will treat it as a list. So you can load it as a list if you're not okay. If you're not okay with this, in this
Mm-hmm.
division, what you can do
Mm-hmm.
is you can division course one, division course two, something like that. You can have a two different columns. So in one column you can maintain computer, in another column you can maintain a science. So course one is computer, course two is science, something like that. You can maintain the two different columns. So from these two values, you can these two values you can split and you can put it in a two different columns. That is possible. You just have to apply your transformations. Yeah, that's how we will do. But we won't maintain a two records for 301.
Okay. That's what my question. Yeah.
You can maintain it actually, but
Mm-hmm.
we
Okay.
won't maintain. Okay, because all other details you are repeating, so meaning you are maintaining lot of redundancy data, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So that's why what we will do is we will try to maintain two columns, and we will keep in first column computer, in second column we will maintain science.
Okay. Yeah.
Fine. Now mm, okay, this is clear to all of you, right? Now we will try to write this output into the respective folders, so we know
Malaya, I got one more question.
Hmm.
So that means like, see, reading the nested XML and using the structure field,
Hmm.
both are the same, right? You just mentioned change the data types. Other than that, it doesn't. Both are same. Reading the nested XML and with the
But there is no
using.
difference. So you just see when you have nested tags, you will get the data something like this. If you want to
Yeah.
understand what is the data type, or if you want to different user different
Then we
schema,
need to import the. Then we need to import the library. Until then, we don't need to mention all of these.
can you come again? What?
Yeah. For example, if you just go to the go up above. Go up. Yeah. Go to the multiple reading the nested XML file. Yeah, this one. Yeah. For example, this one.
Here only I'm reading multiple nested XML.
No. Go a bit up. Yeah, here you're reading the nested XML, right? So this one and the next one, I couldn't see any difference, right?
Here I have a single file. Okay, if you want to mention your file name, you can mention here. It will work.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I am trying to explain is, so both are same. If you look at here, only the difference is in this folder you have two files. You are reading multiple files. In this directory, you have single file. You are reading single file.
Yeah.
Here you can mention the file name, but here you cannot mention the file name because you have multiple files.
Yes.
You want to read all the files. If even though you have multiple files, if you want to read a single file, and just put slash and give the file name here also.
Yeah. And on top of that, what I'm saying is here you have imported the struct type, struct field, and string types, which just to know what are the data types for that. If not, if you don't want to know it, we can continue with that single line of command.
No. Ram, your question is, I mean, you are saying what would be the data types? It would read as a string.
So, no. I understand. I understand what you mean. It come in as a long as well. If you said if you say the option in the option inferSchema is equal to true,
Yes.
it's reading as that. So the reason for importing from Pyspark.sql.types and import the struct type struct field only if you want to maintain the data types of the columns as per our requirement.
If you define user-defined schema, yes,
Yeah.
Malaya. If we define user-defined schema, then we need to import this module package, right? The from
Library, yeah.
Pyspark.sql library, yeah. Correct, Malaya?
What I can explain, so like we completed almost 10 classes on this. So I was explaining from the beginning. inferSchema, it will allow you to read the data once again for getting the data types. Instead of that, if you maintain this particular schema, it is not going to read the data second time. It will give you the better performance because you're not going to handle only 10 records or 20 records in real time. You are going to deal with some millions and billions of the records. If you try to read those billions of the records second time, it will there will be some performance impact. To reduce that, instead of using inferSchema equal to true, we are going to provide the user defined schema.
Okay, that makes sense, Malaya. So that means like before execution of any read or any reading, if you have mentioned this data types, then it will improve the performance. Yeah, that's the reason why we mentioned this. Okay.
Yes, so same thing I am explaining
User
in
defined schema.
last application, but
Yeah. Sorry, I got it. Sorry. Good. Just to improve the performance. Yeah.
okay, see here, this is my folder where I am going to write my output. So let's say this is the data. Let's read this data. And in this data frame, whatever 8 records I have, those 8 records I want to write it. So you'll write that. So whether we have nested data or you have normal data, doesn't matter. You can able to write it. So here's the data I want to write. The format is XML. Then so without mentioning your tags, we'll try to save the data. So where I want to save the data, you know, right? The location is here. I am writing the data. Okay, let's write the data. Before you write the data, let's say mode. You need to mention the mode because this folder is already exist. It will not able to write the data if you're not mentioning the mode. Mode is over, right? Now we have written the data. Let's see what is the how data has been written into this. So we know, right? If you want to read data, plain data text, then you have to say show top maybe 200 records without truncating any data. You can able to read it and check. See here, rows, root tag is rows and row tag is row by default. But now this time I want to overwrite with a customized values option and option. Root tag. Root tag I can say employees. For row tag I can say details. Let's write the data once again. Now I have written the data. Let's go up. Here you read the data. This time you see employees and details. The tags has changed. Root tag is employees now and row tag is details. Okay, clear? This is with plain normal XML file. Let's go and see. Let's focus on our this one nested XML file. So nested XML file, I want to write it into nested XML output. Okay, this is the folder I want to write. So this is my nested data. Okay, this is my data. This data I want to write it into this particular folder. Okay, so in which mode? Overwrite mode, and format is XML. I'm mentioning the my root tag and the row tag is employees and details. Right?
Malay, what would be the file name?
File names. What would be the file name? You just guess it and tell me. Part files. You remember part files? That I will show you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Spark dot text. I will show you the tags how it is taken now. This is, you can say something 200 and false. Execute it. You see the employees and details. Now if I remove these tags and save this data, and now you just check this. See rows and the row. Okay, but here you see course 1 and course 2 both the same. Nested tags are going. But now you are asking what would be the file name. Okay, now you just take this path. Okay. How you will check the list of content which we have under this folder? Okay, two ways. fs ls, you can put this content and execute it. See here, part files.